On today's episode of Bad Bow Reviews, we'll be discussing the Alibow Long Draw Alibow Chu Spring and Autumn Period Bow. Phew, that was a long name. In particular, this is sample number 76 on AsiaticBow.info, with a draw weight of 55 pounds at 28 inches and a maximum draw of 35 inches. From Alibow's site, this is inspired by a tomb finding during its spring and autumn period of China's history. I'm unsure which tomb finding this is based on, but from some searching around, it looks similar to a bow found at the Dongyang Caojiagang tombs of the Chu state. This is one of Alibow's pricier laminated bows, coming in at $450 USD at the time of writing. It's also a long draw bow with a maximum draw length of 35 inches. Let's start with tips of this bow. This bow has pointy siyas with the zebra pattern that Alibow likes to use. There is about an inch of siya past the knock groove. The siyas on this limb are fairly short as this bow has quite a long bending limb. The siya construction is quite typical of Alibow bows, consisting of a piece of wood in the middle and then sandwiched with reinforcements. The zebra pattern looks like it's a separate glued-on piece. Note that the transition between the zebra pattern and the siya is very sudden on all four areas where it is present. On some Alibow samples, the pattern fades out nicely, but on this one, it looks like no such luck was had. The limbs are wide and flat, as is characteristic of Alibow bows. These limbs are quite thick. They taper quite a bit with a long section where it narrows gently. The limbs have a core bamboo with a layer of fiberglass on each side. The layer of fiberglass is quite a bit thicker than on other Alibow laminates. Here it is next to a 47-pound at 28-inch Alibow Xuanwu, where you can see that the limb on the Chu is visibly thicker. The handle on this bow is quite different than most Alibow handles. It is very large and very thick. You can see that it is almost as thick as my forearm. It is a very different shape from the standard Alibow handles as well. I am unsure if this deep grip is a decision from Alibow due to the poundage being 55 pounds when the standard limit is 50 pounds. It comes with a standard Alibow string. For comparison's sake, here it is next to the Mariner's Spring and Autumn, which is Mariner's take on a bow from the Spring and Autumn period. Although Mariner's is a natural material bow, so it is quite different from the Chu. You can, however, see that they are both of the long bending limb variety, with a long working section and short tips, along with fairly large handles. This is a very long Asiatic bow, sitting at 163.6 centimeters unstrung, with a strung length of 155 centimeters, compared to an average of 154 centimeters unstrung and 141 centimeters strung. The limbs taper in width from about 39.7 millimeters on the limb to 11.7 millimeters at the tips. The limbs on the Chu are 9 millimeters thick at the thickest point. The grip is a whopping 45 millimeters deep, which is actually the deepest grip that we have on the website. The stock brace height is about 17 centimeters, which is pretty close to the median brace height of bows on the database. This bow looks like it has water reflex, but it's not actually that much. Coming in at 26.5 centimeters, it's actually only a little above average compared to the database average of 25.6 centimeters. The mass of the bow is 688 grams, which is quite heavy. Considering how long it is though, this does not seem out of the ordinary. The aeropax is 18 millimeters wide, which is quite narrow considering how large this bow is overall. The siyas on this bow have an effective length of about 19 centimeters. Now, let's take a look at the curves on this bow. This bow does not have a long bow point. Instead, it has quite a massive hump at the beginning of the draw. Mathematics, I think that you won't hit a longbow point unless you try to draw it to 40 inches. This massive hump is likely due to all that reflex that this bow has. Looking at the stacking curve of this bow, we see that it hits a paltry 3% draw force increase per inch at 34 inches from the belly. This bow is not stacking. Judging from this curve, you could probably draw it out to 40 inches or so if you really wanted to. Now, let's compare this draw force curve to some other bows. For comparison, all draw force curves will be done with both axes normalized. First, we'll compare it with the Mariner Spring Autumn 1, which is a similar design of bow, but with natural materials. You can see that the Mariner is basically a longbow with an almost straight draw force curve, while the Chu has a massive hump in the beginning. From this hump, we might think that it's comparable to a Manchu bow, so I've compared it with a Yarha too, and we see that the Yarha has quite a bit more energy stored than the Chu, but the Chu stores more energy than the AF Ting. I don't have pictures to compare the profiles of these models, but based off of the measured specs from the site, the AF Ting has the least amount of reflex, while the Yarha has the most reflex. Looking at torsional rigidity graphs, we see that this bow has a slope of 1.23 times 10 to the negative 4. This is nothing special, neither particularly stiff nor particularly wobbly. If we compare it with the Mariner Spring and Autumn 1, we see it is more torsionally rigid than it. Today, I managed to rent a body to shoot it with. It's extra large, so we're able to do a 33-inch job. Here it is, being shot with a 730 grain arrow drawn to 33 inches. That resulted in 196 FPS at about 11.2 GPP. Though after 3 shots of that, we decided not to try anymore, as the bow was vibrating very heavily. Anyways, that's it for this bow. That's all folks, see you next time. Thank you for watching.